What's going on, peoples, man? This is Blackbird Mark 7 coming at you again with a special live event being broadcast. Um, and this is brought to you by NBK, New Black Knowledge Community. Um, and today we got a small panel of brothers on here that wants to share their opinions about the conscious community and what it should be. Therefore, our title, I Am Now Conscious. Now what? A discussion about what consciousness should be about. And so a lot of people, man, share their opinions about the conscious community. Oh, let me see here. And what it should get rid of that. There we go. I was double recording there. So anyways, um we have several people from the NBK knowledge group with us today. Seeing that I'm a part of the group, I might as well invite my own peoples. And we're going to discuss what should the conscious community actually be like. But before we talk about what it should be like, I'm going to open the floor up to everybody on the panel, and somebody can chime in. In fact, let me see. Let me go to MetaNetter. MetaNetter, what's going on, brother?
What's up with Brother Bernie?
Hey, what's going on, man? Brother, what do you think? You know, I checked your channel out one time and was very impressed with the information that you put together on why Jesus does not exist and everything. And I was really impressed with that. So it lets me know you're kind of on the conscious level of things. So tell us and the people listening tonight, how did you come into consciousness? And in terms of the Black conscious community on, let's say, YouTube and Google Plus and other arenas, social arenas, how did you come into consciousness, and how long have you been like this conscious as far as ideologies and beliefs go?
Well, I'm an older gentleman, so this is long before there was a YouTube or a Sonnet or TV or even internet or computers. So my journey basically started with one of the members of what I call the triple threat. Dr. John G. Jackson, Dr. John Heinrich Clark, and Dr. Joseph Ben Yakinen. I was in a bookstore one day and I picked up a book, 36-page. More than anything, it's more like a pamphlet called "The Pagan Origins of the Christ Myth," which led me to other books like Gerald Massey's Historical Jesus, Light of the World, and Godfrey Higgins' Anacalypsis, and Dr. Ben's books, Black Man of the Nile, and many other books that I started to, digest in that time period. So I really think that this whole conscious thing is pretty much a fad nowadays. I'm not sure what the conscious community really consists of, but I guess that means just being aware and embracing, your African heritage and throwing off the God of the Europeans, that have really made us suffer so much throughout the years. Hopefully that's a sufficient answer.
Oh yeah, it's a nice way to start off, brother. I'm kind of like, getting into like, because I can remember when I first started, I guess becoming conscious, even though later on, years later, I said, well, I've always been conscious. It's just, how did I go about being conscious? I can remember the first time, man, and I'll get into that after I get some of your the panel's thoughts out here about how I got started in this conscious thing and where I'm seeing where I wanted to go today. Let me go to the man that put this mindset down and put the idea for this video today. My man Dan Cologne, Brooklyn. Dan Cologne, what's going on, baby?
Hey, good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. So when did you become a part of the YouTube social media Black conscious community, and how did you know what was your mindset back then? When did you actually become conscious, even before that community?
Well, as far as on YouTube, I have been watching these type of videos for about 3 or 4 years. But I would say the road to consciousness started a long time ago. Uh, I guess in my childhood, just always having the questions, right? And then in search of the questions that I had, the answers for them. And it led me on a long, winding road, like I'm sure most people who call themselves conscious now. So I came out of the church, and once I found out the church wasn't a solution for me, there was a journey to find out what was the solution. And then that led me to a number of places. And growing up in Brooklyn, we had a spot called the Slave Theater, where I would go and see people like Dr. Clark and Dr. Ben and others hold lectures, and I always had attraction to that information. And that, of course, led me to, at the time, which we don't have now, there were a number of black bookstores that held this type of information. So one of them in particular was a bookstore called A&B Bookstores, downtown Brooklyn, where I went and I just picked up a couple of books, and I have been hooked ever since. And that led me from, like you said, I was always conscious, but that led me to have an awareness of African consciousness and exactly who I was and the history of my people. And I kind of fell in love with it from there and never left the pursuit of trying to find out exactly who I am and how I got here.
Oh, that sounds interesting. So pretty much, uh, just reading books, and then from there, those books uh led you to read more and even write.
Well, yeah, it was books. It was going to the lectures. It was building with even the 5%ers at the time who were heavily on the streets, and just trying to get my mind right and understand the varied points of knowledge that people had outside of what we consider European or mainstream knowledge, that trying to change my outlook on the things that I was looking at around me.
Interesting. All right, that sounds good. Now I'm finna come to somebody I haven't heard from in a while, brother 44, and I'm 44 now, so I'm feeling that number right now. So welcome back, brother Reeves. Welcome back to the fold. MIA. Now you back. Finna spit some game, hot fire. When did you become conscious, brother? Like even I can remember when you and I first started uh, commenting and communicating with each other in the Black conscious community. So like, when did you become like conscious, and when did you become like a part of the YouTube / social media Black conscious community, and how did you like how what was your mindset back in them days?
Man, yeah, I'm back, man. I've been MIA for a second, but I'm back now. Yeah, man, I actually became conscious, man. I was in like 7th grade. You know what I'm saying? I'm from Hampton, Virginia. We were living in. I was raised in Austin, Texas, which is predominantly it's large percentage white, but I was living in a black and Mexican neighborhood, and I I read the autobiography of Malcolm X, and that was it. I read that book in 7th grade, and I just started getting more conscious. I just was really turned on by his information, so I just really started reading up on him, and listening to his lectures, Ballot the Bullet, his speeches, different stuff, and that's what kind of turned me into studying African history. And I was always conscious, but as time went on, you kind of fade in and out, but you got the information. I would say this phase of consciousness, I had a buddy of mine, which is now a Moor. He's actually a Moor. He turned me on to the Kemetic side of the African ancient history, probably about 10 to 12 years ago, roughly, somewhere in there. And that just opened up a whole nother door and made me start studying more. And then hell, I've been on YouTube, man. I started a YouTube account, man. It was a minute ago, probably the first year Google started or YouTube started, and you know, I always used to look at little videos for different things, but I got turned on to Sarnetta maybe, I don't know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, somewhere around there.
Yeah, that'll be
Yeah,
like 2010,
2010.
something like that.
Yeah, somewhere around there. And the thing that the video that really got me interested was I think it was SETI versus Eileen Bay. That shit was I mean it was entertaining. And I didn't know anything about the Moors at that time. And I just got into that, and then, you know, now we're here. You know, over the last 3 years, you know, going against the Hebrews and debating with them, I learned a whole lot in the last 3 to 4 years. So, and that brings us to where we're at right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, man, because I remember that Seti Ali Bay, man. That was so fucking classic. And right then and there, I knew, okay, I said, okay, well, at least I don't know really who Seti is, but in terms of a debate, he did everything that you would do in a debate. He brought his argument that he had,
Yeah.
evidence with his art to go along with his argument, and it was solid. And then when Aline Bay showed his side of it, okay, he did the same thing. He presented his argument. He presented evidence, or at least arguing points that the people could see. But then I guess if you could dissect real history, you know that for the most part, we know that wars, for the most part, came from like Africa, Northern Africa. They were like the original Moor people that were Moors, or were considered black. We knew that there was Africans in Spain, and they're all like that. But in terms of how he explained it, shit, you got the Ottoman Turks, and that's just like, I call them like the Arabs' cousin, because
Right.
you know they pretty much got the same kind of like demeanor about themselves. You know, like the Feds come up out of that Ottoman Turk Empire, and that's like, you know, modern day Turkey, Pakistan, and so forth. But yeah, man, that's a good building point right there, man. Let me get my man, my Nigerian brother, Kwame Matu Abra Ramses the Third. I think I said that right, from Boston, Mass. What's going on, dude?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? And Blackbird, it is Guy. I'm Ghanaian, not Nigerian.
Ghanaian, yeah, my bad. I thought you was Nigerian, man. I know you
Yes.
African. You
Yeah.
got the accent and everything.
Yeah.
All these
Thanks.
women over here be going crazy. We having them going crazy over here, man.
Man, you my man, Blackbird,
Oh,
but
for sure. I'm glad you showed up. We got kind of late started, man, because I'm
mhm,
like, where's everybody at? And
right,
it was just we had to get this shit together, because I'm thinking it's automatic. You send the invite, and then when people click the invite, they
right,
automatically can be a part of the panel. But I guess I have to do that manually.
right.
Okay, so that'll be taken care of next time. So
Mhm.
when did you become conscious, man? Like, when did you like start following the Black Conscious community on YouTube, like Sonetta TV, Brother Polite,
Mhm.
I'm in Raw Squad? Like, when did you start like checking them brothers out and, you know,
Right.
supporting their work and stuff?
Actually, I think I've been conscious for about a year and a half, or close to 2 years. Because you guys know my history. I was deeply rooted in the Bible. You know, I subjugated myself to the authority of the Bible. And one time I started doing research on the Ashkenazi and the Khazar Jews. And I went on YouTube, and when I typed in Ashkenazi and Khazar Jews, I saw some videos of the Hebrew Israelite, which we like to call them nigger brews, popped up. And I started paying attention to it, and the information resonated with me. I was like, okay, maybe we black people are the real Jews, because according to Deuteronomy 28:68, it says you know, a certain group of people are gonna go on slave ships, and we know according to history that was the African people. And then, you know, I started looking more into the Hebrew Israelite stuff, and Every time you type in the Black Hebrew Israelites on YouTube, Polite and Sanada shows up for some reason. And then I started paying attention to Polite and Sanada, started watching their lectures, started watching Dr. Umar, and they got me into Kemet. And then I also got to know NBK, the big brother. I got to know Aubrey, and they showed me a lot of information. And the big brother Meru, they showed me a lot of information on how the Hebrew Israelite doctrine, it is nonsense compared to the Kemetic doctrine. And that is how I became conscious. And ever since I've become conscious, it has made me develop a lot of self-love for myself and for my people. And when I say my people, y'all know I'm talking about the Black people, the Black race. So that is my journey of how I became conscious.
That's what's up, man. And this is just for the audience and people listening on YouTube after this fact. Understand that our brother was born and raised in the African culture, and now he's in the fabric of America and stuff. So for him, to say that's a blessing within itself, because I know that the white Jesus has taken over Africa, and taking away the people's land and culture and what they are used to dealing with in terms of civilization. And so we know that it's important to have these types of conversations with brothers and sisters. I did invite a few sisters. They didn't show up today, but we will get them on the next time I do something like this project. I will answer the first question, Birdie. Okay, we got you, NBK knowledge, because I'm gonna go ahead and put you on next. Let me see. I'm gonna get to Melvin first, and I'm gonna ask Melvin, when did he become conscious, and when did he what is his mindset, going into this thing. How did you become a part of the conscious community? Because you don't even seem like you were like a conscious dude. You got all these cool ass websites and stuff, and you making moves on the internet, e-commerce. You teaching people how to better themselves, their lives with ebooks and libraries and stuff. What's going on with that?
Peace, brother. Thanks for having me on the panel. Yes, I've been conscious starting in 2014. That's right after 4 years, right after high school. Actually, in high school, I had questions, but around 2014, I really put those questions, to the forefront on the table and analyzed everything. And, that's when I got into a lot of African history. Prior to that, I was, Christian. I dabbled a bit in some of the Muslim faith, and that didn't work out. And then after Christianity, I left and went to Hinduism. That's when I saw a lot of comparisons between Christianity and Hinduism, and so I stuck with that. And then within that, I saw some African features in Hinduism, and it kind of sparked an interest in me as to why a lot of their beginning history was so African centered, as if they were remarkably observing and obsessed with those people. And so I figured, me, since I'm black or derived from African descent, why not go back home, so to speak. So since 2014, I've been studying African history. And you mentioned my online activities. I've been a nerd. I've always been into IT since I was a kid. I was born in the 80s, so that's when technology really took it to the next level. So, I've always been into that, but I'm always African centered, and I use that to my advantage.
Oh, okay, that's cool, man. That's what's up. I mean, that's what we need. We need more brothers and sisters into IT, into web development, into e-commerce, online marketing, and other type of business ventures, and with knowledge and with precision. And Melvin Jefferson definitely does that well. Let me see how much battery life I have on my laptop. I got 29 minutes, so I'm finna rush along here. My man Tunji Ligva from the UK just showed up. It's Mother's Day over there for him. I guess he was actually able to. His mama let him come home early, and so we finna put Tunji Ligva on the mic. And Tunji, you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Brad.
Yeah. What's going on, brother? Glad you can make it on this British Mother's Day, and we want to ask you, when did you come into consciousness? And the subject is like, when did you started like coming on YouTube with consciousness? When did you start, chin checking people with pseudo shit in consciousness? When did you like first come into the conscious community, and what does it mean to you to be conscious?
Okay, I'd say I first started out when from my family really, when I was about 8, 9, 10, from like Rastafari type of movement. So there'd always be a friend, like my stepfather, one of his best friends was a Rasta, and he'd always be dropping some jewels here and there. So I felt like even from a young age, I've been on conscious type of thinking. But when the internet thing started off now, I wasn't really on the conscious vibe. I was just trying to. Always like conscious music, like hip hop. I like the conscious hip hop, but I wasn't really on the conscious vibe. I just kind of fell into it, and then I just started seeing people talking things that make no sense whatsoever. So I just feel like to check them, or try and find out what information they know. Because when I first heard about the Moorish information, I was all for it. But then I started to research it more, like maybe a couple of years down the line, and I realized there was a lot of holes in it that don't make sense. So from then, that's when I started like researching more and reading different books. The first book that actually put me on was The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. So from there, that's probably like 10 years ago.
Okay.
From there, yeah, then it's in history, really.
Yeah, that sounds interesting, man. Because I know when I first met you and stuff, for some reason I used to think that your old avatar, them bronze statues, I thought you was one of those people, man. I was like, damn, this nigga coming with the knowledge, man. Then you be coming with that deep, like researched material on whatever it is, the subject at hand is. And I'm saying, there's some smart brothers in this comment section. I always was attracted to that. And I mean, that's why we here today, like actually here today, building something positive. We're not tearing one another down, make like other people have been doing. And
oh yeah, most definitely.
And yeah, man, but that's some cool, that's some interesting stuff there, how you came into it, because we all have different paths and stuff. And let me see here. Let me go to Brother Rad. This is like the core of the earth. Like if NBK was a planet, this is the core of the planet. Without the core, there is no planet. What's going on, Rad? What's going on, brother?
Everything's good, brother Birdie. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm glad we could at least get your damn voice out here, man. Because I was scared to put my voice out here too.
Yeah, I'm a background guy. I don't like to be out.
We're the same person. We're the exact same person. That's why we click so well. We cut from the same cloth.
Right. I agree with that.
So with you, it's kind of interesting because out of all of us on this panel, like every Avengers have a Hulk on it, and you're that person. You know, like in terms of how you used to present your arguments, how you used to you know, come with people. First of all, how did you get into the conscious community? What was your door into the conscious community? And from there, how did you, you know, just become the way you at, you know, like at this moment here?
So, so with me, you're right. It's probably a lot different from a lot of you, and that's what keeps me in a certain position. So for me, it's probably two phases. Um, I think you guys were exposed to a lot of things that I was not exposed to at a much earlier age, and it's helped to shape you guys and get you in in sort of a different space as far as the information and that level of consciousness. But coming from growing up in the inner city and kind of being, deep in what's going on in the inner city, like I've always told people, the inner city youth really doesn't have a consciousness when it comes to the white man, the other race, and the things that are going on out there outside the hood. So for me, I really never had an opinion about white people or the things that were going on to hurt my race until I probably left the hood and went to school and started having to deal with the other people, the other man. So that was probably the first step of consciousness for me, becoming conscious and aware of what's going on out here in the world and that there are forces and entities out here that are working against me. So, so I've been through the schools, 5% was a Muslim. At college, I was part of 100 black men. I've been through the journey, but religion was just never something that I could get into, and time goes on and the thirst to want to know keeps you in certain arenas. And, you see a few videos on Sonetto, I'm a Rock Squad, definitely, probably the first video I ever saw, was Unc. So, I'm a baby to a lot of this, and that's what kind of brought me into this thing that you guys refer to as the conscious community. And, I just surrounded myself with a bunch of dudes, that had information. My intention was never to be some sort of public entity, but, we were all just cool. And it was just always a good thing to be around all of you that have the info, so that was always the payoff for me, so that's where it all came from, the forming of NBK, this whole thing that we have going, whatever it may be, it's really organic. And that's how I came into consciousness, basically through you guys. Basically, that's what it is.
Yeah, that sounds quite quite interesting there, because I know when I came into consciousness panel, I came into consciousness I can say about 2000 and it was about maybe 2010, because I know around 2000, between 2009 and 2010, I was actually, I wasn't going to church, but I would listen to like Farrakhan, the Nation of Islam, because they, they like the black radical religion to join, and I would listen to him, and then one day I was looking at YouTube, and um, the name of the video was something to the effect of "Our black leaders have abandoned us," a lecture by Dr. Ali Muhammad. Dr. Ali Muhammad, via the House of Consciousness, um, produced this video that was later taken down. Ali Muhammad actually back then asked Sinetta to take it down. So that lets me know right there that them guys necessarily wasn't just cool on the cool and shit, because you don't just hit motherfuckers up on the comment section and say, hey, call me on this number, blah blah blah. But it was a damn good video. I enjoyed the video. He talked about how Jesse Jackson and um Martin Luther King and Al Sharpton and all these motherfuckers, how he broke down the actual corruptness, and he gave us the books that has been written on MLK's assassination. So when I saw that video, from that point I started watching, you know, House of Consciousness, and then it went on to other things like that. So then of course I started, you know, I bumped into RB44, one of my first comrades on here, Tunji. Then later on, you know, Metal Rule, and then, you know, NBK came along like what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and yeah, man, it's this is a good, a good start. I want to do a few more of these series more in depth. I wanted to kind of introduce, you know, the conscious community, you know, formally, as NBK and as individuals. Yes, Kwame did speak, Tunji. You the one barely did come in. I was waiting on Jehudi to come in, but we'll have to get him in next time. I know he said he had to get to the crib first. So anyways, I'm going to open up the mics for everybody, because, you know, as a community group, and in the few minutes that we have, I want everybody to kind of like elaborate on, like, where do you guys want the conscious community to be today? What do you actually want it to be? What it should be? Because I guess I'll have to maybe do a follow-up video on this, so I could kind of like elaborate to the people, you know, kind of like what it is today. We know kind of like what it is today. It's debates. It's this ego versus that ego. It's this business model versus this business model. You shouldn't support this person. Support me. Don't support me. Support this person. So what? In a nutshell, in the next 19, 18 minutes, somebody want to take on, what do you want the conscious community to be?
I can start with that one if you don't mind.
Go ahead, brother. Seeing this your idea in the first place, but go ahead.
Well, you and I were building on this, and I just wanted to get this out there, that people have to stop thinking that consciousness is a destination. They need to start looking at it as a journey. I think one of the issues is that once we get away from what we consider Abrahamic faith, we accept that as I am now conscious, and it leads us, we're there already. That's it. Or once we pick up that first Dr. Ben book and we go through it, we say, okay, I'm conscious, and they think that's the end. And the problem is that it is a journey. This doesn't stop. Your evolution in consciousness should go with you until the last breath that you take, and realize that you should always be evolving and changing and growing. One of the things is we pride ourselves on just saying I'm conscious, and we no longer, I see, ask the questions that we asked when we were unconscious. We feel that now I have the answer, whether it be where I'm from, or what is this all about, or what should I be doing with my life, or who am I? You see, those questions are a journey toward finding those answers, and not just the destination. Consciousness isn't it. You can't just wear the brand of consciousness and think that you don't question anymore, or you've reached the end of the rainbow, so to speak. I think if we can start there and realize that, start to be eternal students and not just happy being labeled consciousness, that could be a great place for us to begin as far as the mind of a conscious person.
Oh, okay. So basically all you saying is we have to continue to do research. We have to continue to find out, I guess, what's the meaning of life without settling for one side or another.
Right.
And at the same time, we have to continue to try to build our community through not just, let's say, exchanging information or even selling it per se as a, let's say, a educational commodity, but actually starting to share our resources with one another and put them together as a puzzle.
We need to put it into action. The purpose of you reading these people that we call master teachers is to put the information that they provided to us into action. Those actions could take various forms, whether it's education, educating babies so they don't have to go through the same struggle and confusion that we may have in our life, or actually to solid institution building. What we need to do is create these institutions, whether educational, economic, and otherwise, right? That's the responsibility of consciousness. You know, that's a responsibility that comes with labeling yourself conscious. That means that you are aware more than the masses or the average person. So your job is to take that consciousness and not only uplift them, but institute. And instituting things takes action, and those things should lead to building. Right? We shouldn't sit on our laurels and just sit around debating, hey, I know this and I know that. What is the wisdom that you're taking from the knowledge that you've ingested? And that wisdom should show forth in the actions and the steps that you take.
Okay, so let me ask this. Let me throw this in here real quick. Oh, go ahead, NBK. You want to say
No, I
something?
just want to add a little something to that because I was kind of going down the same route. I think sometimes what I see is that a lot of times we become conscious and we measure it by the level of information that we've obtained. So there is a level of consciousness that comes with, I guess, learning more about your historical past and your ancient past. But at the same time, it's imperative that we become conscious of our situation and that it's important for us to find a way to work together to get out of this situation as well. So it's like you can't have one level of consciousness without the other, or you're still unconscious. It's about more than just the information. Working together is going to be the end game, and it has to happen in order for us to move forward.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. Because I was just going to ask that either one of you two or anybody else on the panel can answer this. Okay, in terms of, I guess, education and just trying to compare information, debating is cool, but is that the only means that we have in the conscious community? Is just to debate all day each other?
No.
And just
No.
leave it there?
Absolutely not. Actually, debates are a new phenomenon to what we call the conscious community. Years ago, it was having study groups. Years ago, we got together and you picked up a book like Destruction of Black Civilization or We the Black Jews or whatever it is, and you studied with peers. And you took and you shared your learning from these materials and you inspired each other. Then you took what you learned from the materials and the individuals and you tried to apply them. Right? That struggle led to the foundation and the building of Black studies programs as well as Black bookstores popping up all around the country. So it was put into action. It was not as used as a tool. Okay, now I have a weapon to go out and sing my sword at people. Like I said earlier, this consciousness comes with great responsibility, and the responsibility is to uplift. And that's what I think the eye on the prize is what we need to keep in mind. It is not about to become a Black elitist and say, I have information, and then maybe subjugate the rest of the people who don't have the information or to manipulate them for that matter. Right? There should be some learning that comes from a debate, which means that you get exposure to both sides in an argument so you can make a rational decision on what you can, on your ways of validating what is truth that the two sides present to each other. But not only validating what is truth, how do you then apply that truth? If I'm going to go to a Kemet versus Israel or the Moors versus this or whatever, there needs to be actual learning that takes place, whether to give you clarity on what you thought or to say, okay, I have learned this stuff and I can implement things. It is a journey. It's not some passive pastime that we take part in. It's active.
I almost feel like, when people go to debates, it's just like Nutaru and myself. We ain't got together yet though to talk about it per se, but just like last night, the UFC fights, and we watch this person versus this person, and we have a side that we choose. That's just human nature to choose a side, and you can always jump sides too. And it just seems like after the debates, that's it. It's just the next debate, and I don't see anyone necessarily. I mean, I see people saying, "Okay, I believe that I'm Kemetic." I believe some people say I believe I'm a Moor, but it just seems like it just sits right there. And when it just sits idle like that right there, only so many people can benefit from that. And I truly believe that the conscious community, just like you said and others have said, just like Maru said earlier. He said, "Man, I was conscious before it was a conscious community." You see what I'm saying? So it's like these younger people, this younger generation has to understand, man. Before it was a conscious community, it was still a conscious community. It just looked different and it operated different. But I think the old school, in the old school, people was actually, they was turning themselves on to like a good ass, like, career, a good, like niche that they can actually use and actually monetize and help other people to monetize with them, as opposed to, I just left church today and gave my offering. Now I'm finna go over here and pay for this, this debate or whatever. But I mean, this is something that we definitely have to continue to chop game up on and continue to work out solutions that can benefit anybody that participates in the Black conscious community. Yeah. So anybody else got something they want to add real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, just wanted to add real quick. I do agree with Danny with as far as us getting this information, but you have to see this information as a tool, not necessarily a weapon. I think the end goal, is for anyone who gets this information is to find out what role they can play in their community. Find out what you can benefit and who you can benefit. Once you find out your role, use your information, your tool to play your role successfully, so that to your community. Whether it's debates, whether it's information, whether it's finance, whether it's education, whatever avenue it is, you find your role. That's the problem with I see the conscious community today, is because nobody has a role. So it's always, let me beat up this guy or that guy, because we don't know where we belong. And that's all I wanted to say. Use that to find where you belong in the community. Otherwise, your tool will go to waste, and you would use it as a weapon to harm your brother, when that shouldn't be the goal.
I hear you, brother. I hear you.
Yeah,
Brother 34.
yeah, I have to agree with what all the brothers already said. I mean, back in the day, back when I used to, first got conscious and I was in my teenage years, it was more study groups and people going buying books from black bookstores. All of this, tearing, these other, tearing or opposing groups tearing each other down is, it's like a new phenomenon. I don't know that this never went on before to this, to this magnitude. Um, but yeah, I'm always looking at the end. I'm always interested in the end game. Like, what are we gonna do ultimately? Um, you know, as far as the conscious community goes, it's I think it's good and bad to it. It's a lot of people learning. It's a whole lot of people learning that I don't think in other. Well, I don't know. I can't really speak to that. What I was going to say was, it's a lot of people learning information that wasn't learned before in a different type of format. But I don't know, man. I really don't know what to say about the conscious community now and what we do year in and year out. Debate, tear a group down. They die for about 2 or 3 years and they come back. And we had the same debate over and over. I don't know what to say about that other than, what do they call it? Mental masturbation.
You're right. Aubrey,
Yes, sir.
I feel like there's a lot of new age information popping up because of the internet. now everybody's on the internet for the last 10, 15 years. There's been a lot of new age information, a lot of misinformation as well. So that draws me into debate when I go on YouTube or wherever. I feel
Yeah,
like new information and people freestyling information they don't really even know, and they're just adding on to it in their own way.
yeah, it's just like it's more people. Cause I had a buddy of mine that knew, somebody had turned him on to all of this Aleister Crowley, all of this,
Right.
unseen hand. What's the little white bitch name?
Blavatsky?
Blavatsky. He knew all about that. And somebody turned him on because that literature's been out since the early 1900s.
Right.
But it's just now everybody has that shit, and when you grow up Christian, and then
Yeah.
you get some different information, your mind, you start to fucking wonder. You don't have no you have no boundaries. You start to wander, and you go all into all of this
Go for
different.
the alternative, or whatever the alternative thing is.
Yeah, you go all into all different types of shit, and then you become an expert in shit, and and now with YouTube, like you said, I mean, this is the information age, man. You can learn how to build a plane in a day on YouTube if you want, if you really want to. So it's just a whole lot of information flying around, and
Adding on to what you said about when people are Christian and they turn on to the new information, they're really substituting a religion. And I feel sometimes when you get into a debate or a discussion with somebody, they're using this new age information as their new religion.
yeah,
Yeah, that's true. What we
exactly.
need to do is keep in mind, and my advice to everyone is to remain an eternal student. Don't be so quick to rush out there and want to be a teacher. There's nothing wrong with being an eternal student. We should always be learning. Like I reiterate, until the day that you take your last breath, you should be a student of life in the world and keep learning. And then you impart wisdom in increments where you can uplift somebody because you have some good understanding of it. But the goal shouldn't be to automatically want to jump out there and to be a teacher. There's nothing wrong with being a student.
Oh yeah, yeah. I learn from everybody, man, and I just try to impart whatever little wisdom I got at the time on whatever subject, and just leave it at that. I don't try to act like I'm anybody's teacher or whatever. And personally, as much as I love history, man, I'm like, I'm ready to put that shit down and you know apply what it is that I think that I know. Um, and I just feel like all this debating and all this shit, man, like this shit got to come to an end at some point. You know, uh, I don't know.
Well, the truth is, Brother Arbor, you've never really seen a debate on YouTube. Outside of Dr. Clark with Mary Lefkowitz, with a moderator where the opposing sides actually exchange information in advance so that they can have a pro and con, exchange information. You've never really seen that, have you, brother?
It's true. That would be true.
So part of this conscious thing is actually to promote having intellectual exchanges in which the onlookers can benefit. Now, I think the study of history can only lead to, basically, I'm of the opinion that what's best for a thing is to act in accordance with its own true nature. But we have been so disparaged and dumbed down over the centuries that we're not in touch with what our original African heritage was, which is what we need to embrace. You can't teach a dog how to behave like a cat or a cat to behave like a bird. And until you can acquaint yourself with your original heritage, you'll be acting basically as a black-white person, and a hater of your actual culture.
That's right.
So I think that this is the purpose for true education, to acquaint you through your history with your heritage so that you can get your mind right.
Yeah, and see the mistakes that were made. by your people and in your history and whoever else you can learn from. And that's one thing that we don't really seem to emphasize on all these historical studies is what was the mistake that was made. You know,
Right. That's what
Right.
history is. He
yeah,
who don't learn anything from his history is doomed just to repeat the mistakes that others had made in the past.
Right. That's the jewels in there of learning where our elders may have made some missteps so we can learn from and not repeat those missteps so we can go forward.
yeah.
That's a very good point.
We
You
Well,
know,
we, we
I'm
seem to
sorry.
continue to make the same mistakes
right.
over
And
and
could
over.
that be partially because we have gotten on this thing now where we romanticize so we won't have a sharp eye? You know, it's not, there was a way to look at these and see the mistakes that were made and intelligently correct those mistakes. It doesn't mean that those people were pseudo